Hi, it's Nell, and today I'm going to talk about a plant I love, but I say that about a lot of plants. This is rosary vine or string of hearts. The botanic name is Ceropegia woodi. And I'm over here at my variegated Hoya because the string of hearts and the Hoya are in the same family. They are considered a succulent vine, but they are not truly a succulent. They are actually in the same family as the milkweed or the butterfly weed. And you might know the butterfly weed. It's that orangey red plant that the monarch butterflies eat. It's a host plant, and they also breed on it. But just to give you an idea, because the care of the Hoya and the rosary vine are very similar. And what makes this plant so unique are the heart-shaped leaves. And they're on these really fine stems, as you can see. This one's pretty thick. It's really grown a lot since I moved to Tucson. In a few months, it was about up to here, and it's grown all the way down to here. So it's really grown a lot because it loves the heat here. But don't ever expect this plant to get really full and lush and gorgeous. I mean, it's gorgeous, but it's not going to be like a pothos or a really huge full plant, because it keeps this sort of shall we say, a wispy shape. And I have this plant on my patio now, but it's hanging in my pink grapefruit tree. So it's been outside since the beginning of June. It's now the end of September, and it's been in the bright shade. It might get like 10 minutes of sun, but it's very bright because Tucson is very bright. The sun shines here a lot, so the shade is actually beautiful shade, and it's been very happy here. And I'm probably gonna have to bring it inside in the winter, I'm sure. I am. But as a house plant, which most of you probably have it as a house plant, it likes bright light. It just doesn't like direct light. So for instance, it would do great in a west-facing window. And in terms of water, I have been watering this one in the desert every other day. You would not water it that much as a house plant. Maybe once a week. You water it when it's like it's almost dry. You don't want it to go completely dry, but you don't want to keep it soaking wet either. And here's something very important. In the winter, this plant goes almost dormant, so you want to really back off on the water. And this is where a lot of people have a problem with this plant, I believe, because it's not in enough light indoors, and they also give it too much water. And this plant ultimately gets about 3 to 4 feet long. Mine, I think, is already at least 2 feet long. And it will get a little bit fuller. I'm actually gonna plant this in a larger hanging pot with the string of pearls and the string of bananas. Of course, I'm gonna do a video for you on that because I thought it would be a fun combo to do, but it's not a vigorous growing one. And in terms of pruning, I haven't done that much. I've just pruned out a little bit of dead growth on it. It doesn't have that much for me at all. As you can see, it's very tangled. It got tangled in the car, and I don't know if I would ever get it untangled, so I'm just I'm not gonna leave it be. It's just the nature of the plant. So if it bothers you and you go to untangle, do it gently, because it's very easy to break these stems. And in terms of soil, I'm gonna use a succulent and cactus mix for this, with some nice organic compost mixed in. Because it's not a true succulent, you can also put in a little coco coir, just something to enrich it. Or you could do something like succulent and cactus mix, and then half of a cymbidium mix would be a good mix for this one. You just want to make sure that it's going to thoroughly drain through, because you don't want this plant to stay soaking wet. And in terms of fertilizer, it doesn't really need any. I just, as you guys know, I use my worm castings is basically how I fertilize, and that's what I'll do in the spring. But you can just use a good organic houseplant fertilizer on this once a year. In the spring will be fine, and then maybe if you want to do it again in the midsummer, that would be it. But even though these plants look delicate, they're actually pretty tough and pretty easy. And in terms of pests, mine has never had any, but It is susceptible to mealybug, which looks like a little flecks of white cotton. And what you can do is you can take a mixture of half alcohol, half water, take a Q-tip, just dip it in, and you can dot off the mealybug because it shouldn't be too bad on it. And it does flower. Here's some of the flowers. Here you can see the flowers are beautiful. And then these little tubers will form, and the tubers are what look like the rosary. That's why it's called rosary beads. They look like rosary beads. That's why this can be called rosary vine. And to propagate it, you would just like take the spot where the tuber is. I don't see it here, but you would just take your pot that has the soil and you can just lay this on the top. You can cut it off and just lay it on the top and it'll automatically root. It's a very easy plant to propagate. Now I'm going to transplant this one very soon in the early fall. Spring is best to transplant this, but it's going to be warm here in Tucson for a few months so it can settle in. But if you need to transplant yours, spring is the best time. And I was reading that this plant is hardy to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm not quite sure about that. I would think it would not be as cold hardy, but I'm gonna see because it gets a little cool here, so I'll see what the temps are. But it is native to South Africa and it's best used as a hanging plant. Obviously it makes a beautiful specimen. And here we are under the pink grapefruit tree where this has been hanging out. As you can see, it's nice dappled light under here. So the two most important things you need to know to keep this plant alive is you want to give it bright light and you also don't want to overwater it, especially in the wintertime. I had a couple people ask me to do a video about this plant and I thought it was about time. So I hope that you have enjoyed it and you have found it helpful because a string of pearls, I'm so used to string of pearls, string of hearts is a beautiful, beautiful plant. It's a really nice one to have. So I thank you for all your comments, your likes, and your subscribes. I really appreciate them. And now let's get out in the garden and make the world a more beautiful place. As always, I thank you so much for watching, and I have a lot more videos coming your way. Bye!